Elise Mercer stood frozen in their master bathroom, staring at the receipt that had fallen from her husband's suit pocket. Cartier. One oval diamond pendant, platinum setting, $16,750? Her fingers trembled as she traced the date. 3 weeks ago. Their 10th anniversary had passed 6 months earlier with just a modest dinner and a practical gift, a new laptop she needed for work. Marcus had apologized, blaming recent financial strains from their 5th round of fertility treatments. Next year, he'd promised, kissing her forehead, when the new project launches. But there was no mistaking the looping cursive on the sales slip. For Audrey with love eternal. Not her name. Not her pendant. Elise's phone buzzed with a calendar alert. Dr. Patterson, final consultation, 2 p.m. She'd almost forgotten. The last-ditch appointment to discuss why none of their embryos had been viable. Again. She slipped the receipt into her pocket, applied another layer of concealer to the shadows beneath her eyes, and stepped into the hallway of their immaculate Beacon Hill brownstone. The home they'd stretched to afford because Marcus's mother, Eleanor, had insisted that proper families live in proper neighborhoods, proper families. The phrase echoed as Elise grabbed her keys. 4 years of trying, 3 miscarriages, 5 rounds of IVF, and still, no child to make them a proper family in Eleanor's eyes. She had 20 minutes to make it across town, where she would sit alone, again, because Marcus was too busy at the office to join her. The same office where his new executive assistant, Audrey Winters, had started working 8 months ago. Elise caught a glimpse of herself in the hallway mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. When had the light in her eyes dimmed? When had she started looking so defeated? She straightened her shoulders, lifted her chin, and made herself a silent promise. This would be the day she stopped settling for crumbs from her own life. 7 months earlier. "You look stunning," Marcus said, sliding his arms around Elise's waist as she finished applying her lipstick. "Mom's going to be thrilled we could make her birthday dinner." Elise managed to smile, though her stomach knotted at the prospect of another evening under Eleanor Mercer's scrutiny. "I know how important family is to you." "To us," he corrected, kissing her neck. "To our family," she nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Their 10th anniversary had passed quietly the previous week, overshadowed by the latest failed transfer. One embryo that hadn't implanted. One more dream deferred. Marcus's phone chimed with a text. He checked it, frowning. "Audrey says there's an issue with the Hong Kong presentation. I need to handle this before we go. We'll be late," Elise said. "Just 15 minutes. Mom will understand." But Eleanor never understood anything that inconvenienced her, especially not when it came to her only son. An hour later, they arrived at L'Espalier, Eleanor's favorite restaurant. She was already seated at the best table, draped in pearls and disapproval. "Fashionably late, I see," she said, accepting Marcus's apologetic kiss on her cheek. "Though I suppose that's better than not showing up at all." "Like grandchildren." Elise flinched as if slapped, but forced a smile. "Happy birthday, Eleanor. You look wonderful." Eleanor's gaze slid over Elise's designer dress, purchased specifically for this evening. "Thank you, dear. At least some things improve with age." Her eyes flicked meaningfully to Elise's flat stomach before she turned her attention fully to Marcus. Throughout the lavish meal, champagne, oysters, aged steaks, Eleanor dominated the conversation with thinly veiled barbs. Caroline's daughter just had twins. Her 3rd pregnancy. Some women are simply natural mothers. A pointed glance at Elise. Though I suppose career women have different priorities. Marcus, absorbed in his phone between courses, missed his mother's cruelty or chose to ignore it. By dessert, Elise excused herself to the restroom, locking herself in a stall to breathe through the familiar tightness in her chest. 3 deep breaths. That's all she allowed herself before straightening her dress and returning. She paused at the table, momentarily invisible to both Marcus and Eleanor. Her husband was signing the check, $475 for a dinner that had felt like psychological warfare. "Just saying she's not getting any younger," Eleanor was murmuring. And neither are you. If she can't give you children, perhaps it's time to consider— Mom, Marcus warned, finally glancing up from his phone. That's enough. I just want you to be happy, darling. To have what you deserve. Elise cleared her throat, and both Mercers looked up with matching guilty expressions, but neither apologized as she reclaimed her seat. Later that night, as Marcus slept beside her, Elise stared at the ceiling and wondered how she had become so hollow, so complicit in her own unhappiness. She turned to study her husband's profile in the darkness. Handsome, successful Marcus Mercer, the boy she'd fallen in love with in graduate school, the man who'd promised her the world. When had they stopped fighting for each other? Mrs. Mercer? Dr. Patterson can see you now. Elise followed the nurse down the familiar corridor, clutching her purse where the Cartier receipt burned like contraband. Dr. Patterson greeted her with the gentle smile of someone about to deliver bad news. Elise, please sit down. She did, hands folded tightly in her lap. Just tell me, the doctor nodded, respecting her directness. I've reviewed all your tests. The chromosomal analysis of the embryos, your hormone levels. She leaned forward. There's nothing medically preventing you from conceiving. Your eggs are healthy, but the repeated failure to implant suggests an immunological response we haven't been able to identify. So, my body is rejecting our babies, Elise said flatly. That's one possibility. There are experimental treatments we could try, or— Dr. Patterson hesitated, or we could consider testing Marcus again. Sometimes male factor infertility develops over time. Elise laughed hollowly. He won't come in. He says there's nothing wrong with him. The doctor's expression softened with understanding. This journey is incredibly difficult for couples. Have you considered speaking with someone? A therapist who specializes in fertility issues? Marcus doesn't believe in therapy. Elise twisted her wedding ring. He says we just need to keep trying. And what do you think, Elise? The question hung between them. What did she think? When had anyone last asked her that? I think— She swallowed hard. I think something's wrong, and it's not just with my body. After leaving the clinic, Elise didn't go home. Instead, she drove to her best friend Talia's apartment in Cambridge. Talia opened the door, took one look at Elise's face, and pulled her inside. What happened? Elise handed her the receipt. Shit, Talia whispered, examining it. Are you sure it's not for you? Maybe a surprise? For Audrey with love eternal? I don't think so. Elise sank onto the couch. And that's not all. She pulled out her phone, opening the banking app. I've been looking at our accounts. There are withdrawals I can't explain. Dinners at restaurants we've never been to. A weekend at the Mandarin Oriental when he was supposedly at a conference in Chicago. Talia sat beside her. What are you going to do? I need to know everything first. Elise's voice steadied with resolve. I need proof, and then I'll decide if my marriage is worth saving. Finding the truth was disturbingly easy. Marcus had always been careless with his passwords, using variations of his birth year and their anniversary. His cloud storage opened on her first attempt. What Elise discovered shattered any lingering doubts. Photos, hundreds of them. Marcus and Audrey in New York, in the Bahamas, at a cabin in Vermont that Elise had never seen. The timestamps matched his business trips over the past 7 months. More devastating were the financial records. Joint account funds transferred to a separate account she'd never known existed. Credit card statements showing jewelry purchases, luxury hotel stays, first-class flights, all, while he'd insisted they cut, back due to the mounting fertility treatment. Bills. The ultimate betrayal lay in an email folder labeled Future. Plans. Correspondence between Marcus and a real estate agent in Connecticut about a lakefront property. Messages with an interior designer about nursery themes. A proposal from a surrogacy agency with Audrey's medical information attached. While Elise had been grieving their lost embryos, Marcus had been planning a family with another woman. Using their money, their future, she printed everything, methodically organizing it in a folder. Then she made an appointment with a divorce attorney for the following morning. That night, She prepared Marcus's favorite meal, placed candles on the dining table, wore the black dress he'd always loved. He arrived home late, as usual, surprise registering on his face at the intimate setting. "What's all this?" he asked, loosening his tie. Elise smiled, pouring him a glass of the Bordeaux they'd been saving. "Just felt like celebrating." "Celebrating what?" His wariness was barely concealed. "Clarity," she said, raising her glass, "to finally seeing things as they truly are." Confusion flickered across his face, quickly replaced by practiced charm. "You're being mysterious." "Am I?" She took a sip of wine. "How was work?" "Busy, end of quarter reports." He reached for his fork. "This looks amazing. And how's Audrey?" "She must be busy too with all those reports." His hand stilled. "She's fine. Just fine? After your weekend in the Bahamas, I'd have thought she'd be excellent." Elise kept her voice conversational, watching the blood drain from his face. "Elise." "No." She set down her glass. "Don't say anything you'll regret lying about." His expression hardened. "You went through my things?" "Our things, Marcus. Our accounts. Our money." Her voice didn't waver. "Money that was supposed to be for our family. For our children." He pushed his plate away. "You don't understand." "Explain it to me then." "Explain the diamond pendant. The hotels. The house you're buying her." She leaned forward. "Explain the surrogacy paperwork." Marcus's face contorted with guilt, then defensiveness. "What was I supposed to do? Wait forever?" "You can't give me children, Elise." The cruelty landed like a physical blow, but she didn't flinch. "That's what this is about? Children?" "It's about everything. A future, a family, things I deserve to have. Things your mother told you I couldn't give you." He didn't deny it. Elise stood, her napkin dropping to the floor. "I spoke to Dr. Patterson today. She wants you to come in for testing. Apparently, there might be an issue with your sperm quality. That's ridiculous. Is it? Because for years I've blamed myself, while you've been planning a family with your assistant." She reached for the folder. "With my money." "Our money," he corrected automatically. "Not anymore." She slid a document across the table. "I've frozen our joint accounts. And I have evidence of your financial infidelity that my lawyer will find very interesting tomorrow." The color returned to his face as anger replaced shock. "You wouldn't dare! I already have." She gathered her purse and the folder. "I'm staying at Talia's tonight. When I come back tomorrow, I expect you to be gone." He stood, blocking her path. "This is my house. Actually, it's my inheritance that made the down payment. Something your mother conveniently forgets." She stepped around him. "Check your copy of the deed. Elise, stop this. We can talk about it." His voice softened, employing the charm that had once seemed sincere. "I made a mistake. But our marriage ended the moment you decided I was defective." She reached the door before turning back. "Oh, and Marcus? Call your mother. She'll need to cancel the lunch reservation she made with the divorce attorney she's been consulting for you. The one she's been paying since my last miscarriage." His stunned expression confirmed what Elise had suspected from the bank records showing transfers to Eleanor's account. As she closed the door behind her, the weight that had pressed on her chest for years finally began to lift. Eleanor Mercer's townhouse was imposing even on the sunniest days. In the gray drizzle of early spring, it loomed like a mausoleum. Elise had postponed this confrontation for 2 weeks, focusing instead on securing her finances and consulting with her attorney. But she couldn't move forward until she faced the woman who had quietly undermined her for a decade. The housekeeper showed her to the formal living room, where Eleanor sat precisely arranged on a damask sofa, teacup in hand. "Elise, what an unexpected visit." Her tone suggested it was as welcome as a cockroach in her imported tea. "Hello, Eleanor." Elise remained standing. "I won't stay long. I assume this is about Marcus. He's told me about your difficulties. Has he told you about Audrey? About the money he spent on her? The plans they've made?" Eleanor set down her cup with exaggerated care. "Young men make mistakes when they're desperate." "Desperate for what?" "For what you couldn't give him." "A family." Eleanor's gaze was cold. I warned him about you, you know. When he brought you home that first Christmas. I saw it then. Saw what exactly? That you would never be enough. Too ambitious. Too independent. She smoothed her skirt. Some women aren't meant to be mothers. The words struck their intended target, but Elise didn't buckle. And some women aren't meant to be mothers-in-law or grandmothers. Eleanor flinched almost imperceptibly. What you never bothered to learn about me, Eleanor, is that I wanted children. Desperately. I put my career on hold for fertility treatments. I endured hormones and surgeries and heartbreak. Elise stepped closer. While your son was spending our savings on another woman. He needed comfort. He needed accountability. Elise interrupted. Something you never taught him. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. What do you want, Elise? Money? Because if you think you can blackmail this family, I don't want anything from you. Not anymore. She placed a small box on the coffee table. These are the pearls you gave me on our wedding day. The family heirlooms that were supposed to be passed to my daughter someday. Marcus will come to his senses. He belongs with his family. Yes, he does. Elise moved toward the door. But I'm not his family anymore. And neither is the child you'll never have. Eleanor rose alarmed. What does that mean? It means I saw Dr. Patterson again yesterday. Alone, for a full workup. Elise paused at the doorway. There's nothing wrong with my fertility, Eleanor. The problem was never with me. It's Marcus who can't father children. A genetic condition he inherited. From you. She left Eleanor standing speechless, surrounded by the pristine emptiness of her perfect home. 1 year later, the gallery buzzed with conversation as Elise moved through the crowd, accepting congratulations for her first photography exhibit. Invisible Wounds, Portraits of Resilience, featured women who had survived various forms of betrayal and emerged stronger. These are extraordinary, said Dr. Patterson, gesturing to a triptych of a woman transformed from despair to determination to joy. You've captured something essential about healing. That's what I hope to do, Elise said. Show that pain doesn't have to define us. Her phone buzzed with a text from Talia. Running late. Stopping to pick up Sophia, Elise smiled. Sophia had been an unexpected gift in her life. After sharing her story in a support group for women dealing with infertility and divorce, she'd met Sophia, 7 months pregnant and abandoned by her husband. Their friendship had evolved into something neither had anticipated. Now, Elise was godmother to 4-month-old Lily, and the three of them had formed a chosen family that filled Elise's home with laughter. Elise Mercer. A familiar voice froze her in place. She turned to find Marcus standing before her. Older somehow, despite the expensive haircut and tailored suit. Beside him stood a platinum blonde woman who had to be Audrey, her hand possessively on his arm. Marcus. Elise's voice was steady. I didn't expect to see you here. When I saw the announcement in the Globe, he gestured vaguely. I wanted to see what you've been doing. Audrey smiled tightly. Your work is very emotional, almost therapeutic. The condescension was obvious, but it didn't touch Elise. Art often is. For both the creator and the viewer, Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Could we speak privately for a moment? Elise considered refusing, but curiosity won out. Briefly, they moved to a quiet corner of the gallery. Marcus stared at his shoes before meeting her gaze. You look good, he said finally. Happy? I am. I wanted to apologize. For everything. He ran a hand through his hair. The way things ended, the way you ended them, she corrected. Yes. He had the decency to look ashamed. I was wrong. About so many things. Why are you here, Marcus? Really? He glanced back at Audrey, who was studying one of the photographs with feigned interest. Things aren't working out as I planned. With Audrey? With everything. He lowered his voice. The surrogacy failed. Twice. My mother's been impossible since you told her about my condition. And the firm is struggling. Elise felt a distant pang of sympathy, but no desire to rescue him. I'm sorry to hear that. I've been thinking about us. What we had. He reached for her hand, but she stepped back. We were good together, Elise, before all the pressure and expectations. No, Marcus. We weren't. She spoke gently without malice. We were two people trying to build a life on a foundation of half-truths and compromises. That's not love. It could be different now. I've changed. She studied him, recognizing the desperation in his eyes. Not for her, but for the comfort and stability she had once provided. Goodbye, Marcus. She walked away, back toward the light and the crowd celebrating her new beginning. Talia arrived moments later with Sophia and baby Lily. The infant's wide smile at the sight of Elise filled her heart. Completely. Sorry we're late, Sophia said, transferring the gurgling baby to Elise's arms. Someone needed an emergency diaper change. Elise laughed, bouncing Lily gently. Perfect timing, actually. You just missed a ghost from the past. Talia spotted Marcus and Audrey across the room. Want me to accidentally spill wine on them? Not worth the dry cleaning bill, Elise said. Or the wine. As if sensing the tension, Lily grabbed Elise's necklace. A simple silver pendant she'd bought herself after selling the designer clothes and jewelry from her previous life. Careful, sweet girl, Elise murmured. That's my freedom charm. Later that evening, after the last guests had departed and the gallery had quieted, Elise lingered before the centerpiece of her exhibit, a self-portrait taken the day she'd signed her divorce papers. In it, she stood in the empty shell of her former home, face tear-streaked but eyes clear, the light from an open door illuminating half her face. She'd titled it, The Cost of Silence, a reminder of what happens when we swallow our truth to keep the peace. Behind her, Sophia approached with a sleeping Lily cradled against her shoulder. Ready to go home? Home, not the showpiece brownstone she'd once inhabited, but the bright, plant-filled apartment where 3 generations of women now shared their lives. Where Elise's photography studio overlooked the river. Where no one questioned her worth or potential. Yes, Elise said, linking her arm through Sophia's. I'm ready. As they stepped into the cool evening air, Elise breathed deeply. The path forward wasn't perfect or certain, but it was hers to choose, unbound by expectations that had never truly been her own, and in that freedom, she had finally found her voice.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.